Bartail has been one of the persons who's watched all the shows. I talk to him on a regular basis in the EverQuest Next IRC channel.
What we saw with, Kunark for EQ2, you did those 400 quests, you did all the content. At the end of it, the world wasn't changed.
Yeah, I'm Phantom X. I do social media and write articles for EQ Nexus.
For the Fall of Bastion, there was a very definite, okay, this is where your story is going to fit into the world.
Listen, fluffy looking bear. Thank you. Listen, I went and I killed a dragon, and then 2 drops of whiskey hit my face, and I willed this manly beard into cow was raising. Yes.
Welcome to EverCast, episode 18.
Oh my god, has it really been 18 episodes already? Whoa,
I guess we're legal to vote now, guys. So we should go cast our votes this year. But a few more years till we drink.
A couple more.
We can buy scratch tickets.
Should we all drink like a lot on our 21st episode?
You guys can.
Well,
Tanlin still doesn't drink.
Tanlin doesn't drink. You'll be the moderator.
Right.
It'll be a drunken show.
This will be the episode 18, A Return to Norrath, where we go over and talk a little bit about the lore and the e-novels that have been released now that we have more than just one. I'm Tanlin. Hi, guys.
I'm Tanlin.
Hi, Kylas.
I pulled a Tanlin. Everybody was talking, saying hi. I so pulled a Tanlin.
Everybody drink! Twice.
Oh my! I think it's twice when I do it.
Hey, if you want to take a drink, you don't need to blame it on me.
That out there.
Hello, everyone. I am Shuina.
Hi.
We call him Chewy.
Chewy works. Yeah, a lot of people don't know how to pronounce the name. It's a weird name. People are like, China? No, just say Shuina or Chewy or that. I can't do that either. That's going to be a soundbite.
Right?
That's going on the new intro. Right there.
Oh, boy.
And so he's got the soundbite and you've got the big bite?
Oh, ha, 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 ha. I don't know if any of our viewers, are from that time period now. I don't even know if anyone would recognize that if they saw it.
How could anybody forget? I will make sure they never do.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
I have it saved on my phone. I can totally do it right now.
I have it somewhere on my desktop, too.
Oh, let's move
on.
The Big Mac.
If anyone that's been here since day one will remember that, that's such a classic.
Now was that on our first episode, or was
I
that
have
right?
I still have that GIF. I'll tweet it out later.
I don't remember.
I don't remember if it was our first episode. No, I think it might have been later
episode.
on. I think it was our second iteration of our new layout. So I think it was our second or third episode. But yeah. Well.
So
that was such a great thing.
Oh god.
What's up, everybody? What have you guys all been up to since the last show? It's been 2 weeks.
Go ahead, Flatus.
Well, I got plenty of time now.
you can stay up a little bit late if the show goes long.
I can stay up late now. Yeah. I had tweeted out I lost my due to just the way things work sometimes. I lost my job, and so I have some time on my hands as I pursue looking for a new job and everything. So I've been playing. I played a lot of EverQuest 2, a lot.
Well, good for you.
I did notice. I noticed you were tweeting around.
I was yeah. And I got some of the Zubay was in there. Some of the people that are in the somebody's fire alarm going off.
It's my dryer.
Is it dryer? Okay.
That's a good wife doing her husband's laundry.
Alright, I was just making sure no one had it, so we had to take the cast down because someone's on fire. Anyway, I was But I've been playing with Zubei and Crayola Kitty, and I think I'm gonna start like a Helsing Army guild on Crushbone and go deep.
Wait, you're on Crushbone?
Yeah,
that's where all my characters are. I'm gonna have to join you.
Get in there.
Yeah,
dude, we
totally
spent
power
like
a little bit.
Yeah, we power leveled. I power level because I had the level 85. I powered level Crayola Kitty and Zubei.
Oh.
Ran them through Wailing Caves and Fallen Gate.
Okay,
And,
sweet.
yeah, look at that! Like I'm learning. I'm in there.
Wailing Caves. Yeah, that was the starter zone right there.
Yeah, I'm in there. I'm deep.
Really?
Not a
That's
starter
what I've been
zone,
doing.
the starter dungeon. That's good. Good
Interesting.
For you. Wailing
in
in
World
those
of
caves.
Warcraft, there is a starter dungeon
The Wailing
called Wailing
Caverns.
Caverns.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yeah, well, everyone knows that caves can be more dangerous. Caverns are more luminescent and beautiful. Anyway, that was my attempt. That was my attempt to save SOE there. Okay.
There were a bunch of orcs in that. There was some cool stuff in there. It takes like 45 minutes to go through that
Wailing
place.
Caves is a really cool dungeon because you get into there's like multi-tiered and you go into the back tier and then there's like the giant monster. I think it. Anyways, let's continue.
Yeah.
So what I've been up to is sadly World of Warcraft related. I like Landmark, but it's starting to become very one-dimensional. But I can only build so much crap and tear it down, and build so much and tear it down because I don't really feel like I do that good of a job building a Landmark. So that's sort of a me thing and not a Landmark thing. So there's not really a whole lot left for me to do. But I hit 90 on my Warlock, and it's pew pew, and I love it.
Well, I'm a fellow gamer, so even though I disapprove of your wowness, I will congratulate you on your gamer achievement because that's what we should do. And also, the chat's going wild because we mentioned caves. And the caves have now turned to water. Caves? Water?
Oh,
what?
no.
Combat?
the
Is
Landmark.
combat in yet?
Hey, I did watch the live stream where they showed off the caves that they're putting into Landmark, and let me just tell you, it looks really good. And especially if those are procedurally generated, like that's awesome. And that's I'm really looking forward to playing Landmark when they put that in there, and I'm going to go run around and explore a little bit. But until then, I felt like I've explored the limits of my artistic ability when it comes to those tools, and it's just not in me. I don't. I mean, that's why Landmark didn't do much for me the same way Minecraft. But I'm still holding out that it's got plenty of potential. That's the great thing about Landmark is that when they add in more features, it's definitely a game that can be built on.
Oh, of course. Well, anything else with what's up?
I will totally join you on Crushbone.
Yes!
So I'm not a huge fan of EQ2, but it's a hell of a lot more fun when you have friends to play with. So, sure.
There was at one point, because you can mentor, so you can lower your level down and mentor somebody, and there was at one point that I forgot that I was like only level 10, and like I started running across the common lands. And
I know where this is going.
Yeah, and I
training the zone.
I trained the zone a little bit. Next thing I know, I had like lions and elephants chasing me, and I was just screaming like a woman. So there's this like tune running across this flat plains, just going. It's just like a little like Crayola Kitty's
I think
dying.
that was right on the same pitch right there.
It was like
that was perfect.
Then I forgot. I was like, hey, wait a minute, I could unmentor and just be level 85. I was like, why am I running like a woman? I'm just like, I was just like, just flailing my arms and just like.
I want to say that that's where my boosted EQ2 character is, because that's where chat is like, oh yeah, just come on, you can tank, it's okay, come on into this dungeon and tank with me.
I did, and we failed.
And I walked in and he's like, pull that one, and I tagged it, and the next thing I know is bam,
it was instant death. We all wiped, instantly.
That was bad, yeah.
It was good times.
That was so much fun.
Like, I come in and I come up to like their knees. I'm like this little tiny fae tanking. Itty bitty thing. It was cute.
I introduced Kitty to cute mode 3, so now like that's fun. Like, everybody becomes like a little chibi.
Ooh.
Great.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like giant heads on all the characters. It's pretty cool.
Tiny little bodies, gigantic heads, big feet and hands. Yeah.
Oh, Talen's all like, I have things to say.
No, not really.
What's up with you, Tamlin?
What's up? I've just been, I'm a scheduled guy. Like I have on this day I play this game, and on this day I play this game, and on this game I play a game with my dad, and that's my dad really got into liking Eve. There's a lot about that game that he likes, so I've been playing a little bit of Eve. Not in the PvP, we just mine stuff right now, but it's perfect for putting a show on one screen and mining on the other's show. Excuse me, putting a movie or a show on one screen and the game on another and just watching while I mine. That's pretty much all I've been up to.
Well, cool. I haven't been doing anything.
All of the
I've been
comments
hiding in a
chat. I apologize for breaking your eardrums, but it was funny.
Well, that's it for what's up. Let's move on to ECast news.
Yeah, we have plenty to talk about in ECast news. That this particular segment. The first thing is that if you listen to us via Stitcher. I'm like Switcher. No, Stitcher. There's been a problem that only the first hour was being uploaded, and that's my fault. And I totally overthought the problem and came up with a very simple solution. So that problem should never happen again. And you should be able to stream through Stitcher the whole show, starting with this episode. And I hope you do. Take if you want to revisit the show, if you're watching us live, please let us know. Give us feedback. We always appreciate those sorts of comments. Next for the ECast news is this sudden announcement about the H1Z1 game. And wow.
Is anyone else getting dizzy on the hizzy?
Yeah,
I've been
right.
holding that for a while.
Well, first
what
off,
does that even mean?
On the hizzy?
H1Z1,
that's what they're calling it, hizzy.
So dizzy on the hizzy. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh my God.
What's with that?
Anyways, SOE announced a new MMO that's been in the works for, it seems, since January. They've been working on it officially, but they've had an idea going back a while. I was listening to Brad McQuaid on an MMO RPG stream, and they asked, it was he was on with Boogie 298899043. That guy. And they were discussing, Pantheon and all that, and Boogie asked, what do you think about SOE's new zombie MMO? And Brad's like, I don't know, I've been so busy, I haven't heard about it. But if I know Smedley, it has to do with undead, right? He's like, yeah. He's like, okay. So apparently they've been trying to figure out how to kind of do this a while, or at least Smedley's been pushing for it. It uses the Forge Light engine, heavily modified, but it's not voxel technology or anything like that. Survivor, kind of like DayZ MMO, is what it seems to be going towards. Yes, Flatus.
Yeah, it is not voxel technology, but it does implement the AI that we will see in EverQuest.
It has immersion AI in EverQuest Next.
That is definitely something that was confirmed, that they have put some AI into their zombies, and we should see the zombies behaving sort of predictably, but in new ways.
Creepy.
Yeah.
They said they were having a problem where all the wolves were killing off all the deer, because I guess they weren't spawning enough deers, or the deers couldn't get away, so they're actually already having ecological problems. That's cool.
Isn't that old from didn't UO have that problem too? Because they were
UO did have that problem.
Oh man, that's not that's not good, because they were like, I can't do that.
Right, but I'm pretty excited. Well, not excited. It's a very interesting game. I love the concept. I'm really, they had teased it a couple of times that it was going to be a very creation oriented and very community building oriented, and I gathered that that's what it was going to be about, because Medley was teasing that it was going to be it was going to appeal to the old Star Wars Galaxies community, and I think in those sort of ways it does, where you can build your own cities and forts and structures, and that's appealing to me in that way. As for the whole zombies, I'm kind of over the zombie past it a little bit, and I'm not good at first-person shooters, so I don't.
I'm not other than the selling and that stuff. I'm not sure where the Star Wars where
the crafting is where it's the majority of it's supposed to be open, sandboxy, build your villages, kind of craft things, farm. Eventually,
I didn't play Star Wars Galaxies,
right? Well, our friend, Kylest and I's friend, who was this serious Star Wars Galaxies player, he said that his favorite part of that game was the fact that you could go out into the wilderness and build a city, and you could defend your city versus other NPCs, or not other NPCs, against other player characters, and you could go and attack other player characters' cities that they built. And so in that sort of way, H1Z1 is allowing them to do that again. And
just in a zombie setting instead of a Star Wars setting.
Right. And
okay.
But see, the thing is that if you just take the whole zombie thing out of it, just call it a post-apocalyptic setting, it still works. You know, most of like the pre-established, the pre-existing reality that we live in, you just take that all away and create, this is like the wasteland and survive it.
Would you have liked it more if they were not zombies but mutants? Like they were mutated people? No, you would have preferred the zombies?
I wouldn't have had a preference either way. The thing is that Smedley made it absolutely clear in a Reddit post that these are science-based zombies. So when you're talking about zombies, is like, well, where did they come from? And I think that the science-based zombies is just, I'm so over it. It might be because of the nature of my work that I can't be creative in my science. I want to see the data. So that's why I always like, hey, give me magic, give me a curse, give me somebody found the Necronomicon.
I like the science ploy. No, because I like the science ploy because it's plausible. Or
leave it a mystery. I love that even more. It's just that, and then people fighting over.
Wait, weren't you just saying you want all the facts?
No, if you're going to throw the science in my face, I want to see the facts.
But you don't know what kind of science. You don't know how it happened. There could be a big ploy and story to uncover. I don't
want to kill any more time, but I kind of really wish they went with dinosaurs. If there was so much science behind it, because that would have been fun for me.
Only if they were dinosaurs on a spaceship.
Oh my god, even better.
Okay, Doctor Who.
All right. Okay. So moving right along to the other things. The other things that are exciting, the exciting things that come out about the H1Z1 game is also that shortly after their live stream, it was only a day or two ago that they announced that they're going to have player not run servers. The players aren't going to run the servers, but the players are going to create server rule sets. It's basically going to be if enough players vote in support of a particular type of server, SOE will put it in the game. It's a little bit different than hosting. It won't be hosting your own. It won't be like changing the rules on the fly because it's your server. But that's actually a pretty broad step because you can this one is going to have first person only. Which is something that first-person shooter fans they've definitely want. First-person only. And these are, that's, I think it's interesting because it invites the players to give feedback to SOE about the things they want to see in a game. How a server with no permadeath, because they said that permadeath is going to be in a server with only first-person, that's pretty
it's a continuation of their whole player created experience, player generated content. It's a way to now not only are you creating stuff in the game and you're creating the experiences in the sandbox title, but you're also creating the servers, because what's one thing we always want is specific rule sets on servers and MMOs, and the problem with that is that MMOs are run by one company, and so it's very hard for them to just make all these different servers and hope something works. So this is a way not only to get all that feedback like you were saying, but create those servers that people want in a way where they can kind of see that there's a base behind it. They could easily make a RP PvP server or something like that, but that doesn't mean people are going to go to it. Right. And it's interesting because it's sort of monetized. And I think I'm always kind of the critic when it comes to monetization, but I really don't think that this is kind of a way for them to suck money. I think this is kind of putting it behind a paywall. So they say, oh, you've been playing this game a certain amount of time, you're invested in our company because you bought the Smed bucks to kind of vote. So everyone gets, Smedbucks. Smedbucks. Here's how it works. Everyone gets one vote automatically after playing a certain amount of time, which is not defined yet. Then everyone can buy one additional token during the year.
It's 5 hours.
It's 5 hours. Well, that's now. It could change. 5 but 5 hours now. So you play 5 hours, you get 1 token. You know, oh, here's a list of servers that people have proposed. You can vote on that one. You get 1 a year unless you buy an additional. But it's limited to 2. So it's not like someone with a lot of money can come in here unless they create a bunch of accounts and funnel a lot of money through that. But that's a lot of work. I don't know. It definitely has some flaws. But it's behind a paywall, so they can kind of see who's dedicated to the game, figure out their base, and then they can go forward from there.
Right.
And they're going to refund the SMED bucks if you win. Now, you're not getting your hard cash back. You've still given your money to SOE. Realize that. They still have taken your soul. But they're just going to give back a little ounce of freedom, you know, to spend on their products.
Right, but that's to keep everybody from, you know, voting for... You basically...
To me, it seems the easiest way.
You also have to have confidence in the community, because if you vote for something and it doesn't go through, you've lost it, because they only refund it if the vote is successful. Which means that when you're deciding whether or not you want to vote for a server set, you also have to have confidence that there is enough in there. And that's another way of you know, basically another gate, you know, on before they open the door or let people through, that, you know.
And it's completely important to discuss this, because EverQuest Next could have the same exact functionality, because they're already talking about server sets. What kind of server would you like to see? Well, this is, you know, we've seen them testing all this technology with other games. Landmark, you know, oh, let's start throwing voxels in there. Let's figure out our AI while we're making the game. You know, everything. Now H1Z1 has the emergent AI before EverQuest Next Landmark. So Hizzy will start working on the AI real world. And that's they can start testing
the serious question.
Stuff, bring it all together for the big project.
That's the serious question that we need to ask ourselves, is that would we like to see this sort of function for EverQuest Next, where we're allowed to decide what type of servers we'd like to see in the game?
Well, that's a question.
That is a fine question.
It's a great question. But that depends though. Like, why? Do you think there should be like a list of certain servers that should always be like there should be a PvP server, there should be a PvE server, there should be an RP server, and then have like a different set of rule servers, like ones that like specifically follow expansions. Like you can't go to the next expansion until everyone's completed, or at least they've.
That's a pretty good one. Like you can't progress to one raid until your server, until your server has defeated this raid encounter. Then you can move on to the next one.
Yeah, like
I think it's interesting. I think it's good because they don't have to like necessarily. From SOE's point of view, what's the risk? What risk are they taking in giving that functionality to the game? Because
they're playing
a little bit of extra developmental cost, you know, just the time it takes to figure out those and script those kind of certain things. But honestly, it doesn't seem like much.
Listen,
from my coding ignorant point of view, it doesn't seem like a whole lot of investment of time, and it might be hugely successful. So I hope they do it. Only, and not because I want my own server to play on or my own server rule set to play on. I don't want to see that. I just want to see it to see what becomes popular, to see, you know, the things that I like compared to what other people like. You know, that's where I'm standing.
Yeah, I just think they're playing. I think H1Z1 was such a smart ploy to test their AI. I think that was such a we got the voxel thing working. Let's test out this AI. It was like, well, how do we do that? Zombies! Let's do it. What's popular? DayZ. What do we got? Zombies. Let's do it. Let's just test it out and see how it works.
Well, it's also smart with Hizzy because DayZ is player run. So it had I'm going to keep saying Hizzy because it's way easier than saying H1Z1. So Hizzy draws from a shooter crowd that's very it's not really lobby based, it's server based. So everyone runs their own thing, they mod their own thing, kind of going back to an older school kind of play. And to make Hizzy where it's all the same thing, those players on DayZ who like that difference in the play styles, they might not even be attracted to it as much. So it's a win-win. They get to test something new that might work out, and maybe they come to an EP next, and it makes them money, and they can kind of work on their new project. So I'm very excited for this project.
Well, on to that, let's get started, I think, with our main topic.
Well, three more quick EverCast news updates. Three more.
All right, let's
okay.
Come on, Flatus, don't you
because we talked about this in before our last episode, and we just want to state again, like, we are going to be an EverQuest Next podcast. But until until there's an actual game or some like, more features are announced, there's not much that we can continue to talk about. So in the meantime, we're talking about a lot of different SOE games, which is why we just, spent about 5-10 minutes talking about H1Z1, because not only is it about SOE, but we think it's going to be a fun game to play. Now, going to a different way, that Brad McQuaid was one of the original creators of the original EverQuest. He moved into Vanguard, then back to SOE. He was working on EverQuest. Then he was part of the cuts right after SOE Live last year. And he announced a month or two ago, maybe 2 months ago, that he was working on his own project, which was Pantheon. We talked a teeny bit about it on the show. And the latest news on that is that they are halting development. They have what they consider to be, and this is just my interpretation of what I read, not that I'm basically, they have enough in place that they want to show it off and they want to get real investors, and any money going to their website at this point in time is just to keep the website up and running while they continue to try and find a serious investor to get the game development. Get the game developed. But as far as I know, development is like severely cut back.
So are you saying the project's dead? Is that what you're saying? Because that's all I hear. Am I taking a negative point of view here?
No,
normal.
Well, what do you guys think? No, seriously. Do you think there's hope for Pantheon?
I can say maybe I'm like the least Pantheon person here. Like I don't really follow it, but I can say this. Like I think the man has a dream. And he has an idea for a game that he wants to develop. Is it viable in today's market? Yeah, sure. I mean, anything's viable in today's market. I mean, look at H1Z1. There's plenty of zombie games out there. There's plenty of online zombie game shooters out there, but Sony's still going to go ahead and do what they're going to do and put it out there. Do I think Brad McQuaid's got a dream and a hope to get the money? Yes. Is he going to try? I think he's going to try come hell or high water to get that money. And until he does, he's going to hold on to that dream. And if he can't get the money at an absolute point, and there's no more funds, then at that point he will say, you know what, then this is a dead game. But and this is coming from a person who I'm in the middle. Like if Pantheon succeeds, cool. If it doesn't, I don't like win or lose. I don't really. It doesn't bother me. So and speaking from a person that's neither not hating or in love, I would say this. I think that he, as a developer, the man's always had a dream to make a great MMO, and I think that he had such good success with EQ that he tried his damn hardest with Vanguard, and it just lost support, just like other MMOs have, like Warhammer Online lost support from EA. Yeah. It happens. And if he can get support for Pantheon, I think the man's got a good footing to maybe create something cool. And if it happens, awesome. I would like to see that happen. I don't want to ever see anybody fail.
He created a game. He created a game that's going 20 years later, still going strong. He created Vanguard, and I played that, and it's a great game. I love that game. They're laughing at me.
I was laughing at Kyla's mustache.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So I think that the game has. I think that the game has legs. I think that they have enough development in their pocket that they're showing around. That there's good chances. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that it's dead. I'm saying that it's.
At the end of the day, I think competition is good. I hope the guy gets funded, because I would like to see more competition. Because I think me personally, I want to see. I would just like kind of see the company that takes down Blizzard. I just like.
Really?
I want to be in that time where I'm not like I don't care if I'm like elderly in some sort of home. I hope it's some sort of like elderly home that allows gaming, where I just have a computer and I just sit there, take my meds, and just get lost.
It'll be VR by then, man. You only have to move. They'll just kind of put the headset on you. You'll just be like, it'll be.
I'll be jacked in. I don't care if they put me back in the pink goo, like in Matrix.
And then they throw you into Soylent Green right after.
Yeah, there you go. There it goes. That's the end of it.
It's done. So what about you, Kylas? What do you think? Well, she hasn't voiced her opinion about Project Pantheon. I wanted to know. Like, do you have hope anymore for the project? Because both you and Tamlin were kind of, proponents of the project. So I just wanted to kind of get your opinion. As it stands right now, what do you think?
Well, you don't want to know my opinion.
I'm going to take a stab here. Not going anywhere.
I supported the game in the beginning because my husband really wanted it to succeed. So I wanted it to succeed for him. But I told him in the very beginning it's going to fail from day one.
Well,
sorry.
There we have it. Hey, no, I mean, I kind of agree with Kylus.
Oh God! Write it down.
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say day one I thought it would fail, but second I saw the Kickstarter and stuff like that, I didn't think it was really going.
How many shots did we take for that one?
I think that's like 10 shots right there.
Everyone just get drunk.
See, well, every now and then, Kylus and I agree. And especially when it comes to things like this, I suppose, when we get to be negative and critical, because we like to be critical. But yeah,
so it scares me. I don't know. The only other ECAST news that we had is that there was a Voxel Farm update, and we're going to play the video. I think when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and because Voxel Farm put together the Voxel technology, and it applies directly to Landmark. And what they're doing in the Voxel Farm update, if you have not watched it, it's pretty amazing. I think that's it for ECAST news. Unless there's any other tangents that we'd like to take off on, because whatever.
Well, we can save that for after hours, I suppose.
Yeah, we have plenty of lore tangents. We'll probably take off on.
Yeah, let's dive into the lore. A return to Norrath.
So
let's set the scene.
Set the scene is that when we did I think it was our second or third show, we called it the lore episode. It was because we were going to talk about the lore of EverQuest in the general sense.
Did we really call it the lore episode?
I don't know what we called it. I forget these things.
We had terrible names back then.
Our episode names have gotten so much better.
They have gotten better.
But it is now our 18th episode. It has been like 9 months or 10 months since SOE Live. We have 7 or 8 different e-novels out that most of us have taken the time to read, and there's a lot to talk about.
Yep. Just so you know, we won't be discussing the newest novel because we don't want to have any spoilers. We kind of figured that the novels up to the point before the newest have been released in enough time that if you're interested, you would have looked. So this is a spoiler show.
Exactly.
Just so you know.
This is spoiler
show. But the new
show.
one will not be covered.
And if you haven't read them and you're spoiled because we revealed something, it's your own fault. The books are available. They're free. And we announced like 2 weeks ago that we were doing a lore episode. So if you didn't read them...
Don't spoil me. I'll let you.
That's an inside joke between my wife and I.
It just sounded hilarious.
I know I've read the novels, except for the latest 2. I didn't didn't get a chance to read them. Flatus, how about you?
I'm terrible. I am terrible. But you know what? That's why wikis are created.
None of us are experts, folks. I've read every single one except the new one.
All right. What'd you guys think? Kai?
He knows I didn't read them.
No,
he knows why I didn't read
I think that it's important for us to talk about, like, do you consider yourself a reader? Do you read on a normal basis? And if you, what was the turnoff from them? Because I do know that you haven't read them. But
okay, so I am a reader. Damn it. So it's hard to explain. People aren't going to understand this. Yes, I'm a reader. Yes, I read on a regular basis. I don't read novels. I read technical manuals, thesauruses, and dictionaries on a regular basis. I kid you not. It's my favorite thing to read.
You're on a whole level of nerd that I like. Like, that's a whole level. Like, that's awesome.
I have 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, the whole top shelf of my desk.
Something like a dozen different versions of dictionaries. I have a Latin dictionary, Greek dictionary, German dictionary.
So what we need is an EverQuest Next Lore dictionary, right? We need a dictionary based on EverQuest Next Lore for you to read. Where you can get the source of everything?
Yes.
Would that be okay?
Yes. But I don't...
Have you gone to the wiki? It's pretty much that.
Right. Well, the point I was trying to make is that Kylus did not read the novels, but she's not a real heavy fantasy reader to begin with. And
so I tried reading them. And the thing is it's not that I didn't read them. It's that I attempted to read them and I didn't find them interesting. But again, given what you know that I read on a regular basis for lulz, yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least you're honest. So cheers to that. I think everyone should take a drink. Just because.
Somebody seriously just said, okay, Klingon dictionary is like next level nerd. No, me being able to ask you, where do you keep the chocolate in Klingon? That's next level nerd.
And now we need an example.
Can you do that?
I just did.
She just did it. What? Were you not paying attention? You're terrible at paying attention.
Noktak Yochtapol. Where do you keep the chocolate in Klingon?
Well, so Norrath. Everyone knows EverQuest Next Lore is a reimagining. We have Amariel, which is the main continent. It's taken over like as Tunair. We have old gods, which are like the Seraphs. We have new gods. We don't really know who follows who so much, as far as I believe the Karens and like some of the more tribal races follow the old gods, while most follow the new gods. And the lore, you want to dive into how the kind of eras are set up, Tamlin, of the lore so far, so we can recap?
Yes, because that was one of my, that was the big point that I was making in the pre-show, and what I wanted to say is that, when you're looking at historical eras, you're always looking at like, when does one era end and the next one begin? Like what event or what, trend or whatever, what happened to create an end of one time and the beginning of a next? And if you're looking at the way that SOE has their demarcations, right? We're not exactly sure where the Sundering happened, but you would expect it. Well, we know that it happened sometime in the middle of the excuse me, which era is it? The Takish Age.
Oh, come on, the Takish.
The Takish Age.
Well,
it happened sometime.
It's the Dull era Takish Age.
Right.
There's 3 ages within the era, is how it works for each era, right?
But the Sundering happened in the middle of the Takish era. Well, actually, we don't know when it happened. I'm assuming that we know that it happened sometime, but my point, the whole point, now that I'm getting onto the point, is that event, the Sundering, should have been one of the key defining markers where you could read back into history and be like, this is where one era ended and the next one started, because elves had high magic, something happened, then they didn't. And that's like a huge event, and that would be like, okay, and after that event, the elf empire or whatever, it went on the decline because the elves didn't have their magic. And so my argument at the beginning of the show was that they should have used that event as one of their marker points, is like, this is where the Takish Age, where the elves are in their glory because they have the high magic and they've subjugated all the lesser races, and then they lost it, and that's where you have the next era starts. In the pre-show, though, we got to talking a little bit.
And I made up the point that I think the Sundering occurs at the start of the Combine era. So the Combine era is after the Ring of Scale Wars break out, everything like that, and the Combine's formed, and everyone starts running like crazy, right? The Takish Age is kind of when everything goes wrong. So if you remember the novel Under the Stars, God, I should have looked up these names.
Under the Stars?
But the Sundering happens between the
Stars of Home. So you have the Stars of Home novel, where it's a dwarf thief, I believe, and I guess an elvish assistant. They kind of break into one of the ancient libraries in the Takish Empire, and they kind of steal this object, and this artifact is activated, and it seems to be this massive sundering across the world where everything's torn up. Basically, the entire capital's blown up, and what we find out later is that it's all kind of a plan by the Ring of Scale to come to power, because you have these dragons who are in charge of everything. Well, they're not really in charge of anything, because the elves have been doing their own thing, and the dragons have been doing their own thing, because the dragons suffered from a war against somebody who I do not remember, but ever since they lost all that, the dragons were kind of passive. So what happens is Ithiosar, the giant evil black dragon, I'm totally nerding out over here, he is basically, you find out he's a servant. So all this time, we thought that he was kind of the main bad guy. Well, he's kind of a servant to this guy called Trakenon. He seems to be like the Ring of Scale leader, from what we can tell. Well, basically, they've kind of been setting up this plan to start a holy war against these elves for some time because of what's been going on. And the Ring of Scale has kind of set certain key motions, like the Sundering and other things, to sort of provoke the war. So Takish Empire, Takish Age is going on. You have the High Elves in charge, the Kuata Dal, subjugating all the lesser races, stuff like that, right? It is the Kuata Dal that's in charge of the Takish Empire. Am I correct in that statement?
I see. That's the thing, is and that's one of the other points we're going to make, is that as someone who's new to the EQ world, I did not play EQ or EQ2. I played Vanguard, and this is my first EverQuest game. They they talk about it in the e-novels, but I have no frame of reference for what that is. So to me, the way they presented the Coda doll is that it was a secret society, or at least it was not something that you made overtly public.
The Archmage Corlin Larkos is a Kawada doll. That's
right,
what we know.
And it made it right, and he made it seem like that was not something that he wanted everybody to know, and that it was something that he basically it was either a secret society that he belonged to within the. So you had the elves themselves, then you had the Tear Doll, which were the fierce fighters and that army thing, and then you had the Coda doll, which is kind of like the the Illuminati, the elves in the background that are secretly pulling the strings and creating puppets because they firmly believe that they're better. I kind of think it's the
opposite. No, I kind of think it's the opposite, because the Tear Doll were the warrior sect. They were like the highly specialized warrior elf. So that's what I consider the Illuminati. The Kawada doll were sort of the people in charge.
The Illuminati being out there in the front.
Wow, is my reference wrong? I'm sorry. Sorry, but we're talking about fantasy lore over here. I'm trying to use what you were saying, and I want to kind of.
Did someone just put hey.
Man. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Let me put it this way: the Kawada doll, I think, are in charge of the Takish Empire.
Now, do you think that they're like
learns this high magic from them?
Do you think that the Coda doll are then like a ruling caste, or do you think they're a secret society?
No, I think they're a ruling caste.
They're
I think the Tear Doll come to power during the Combine era.
So the Tear Doll are like a warrior caste, and the Coda doll are like a ruling caste.
Maybe they could both be ruling caste, though. Just not the Takish Empire. So the Takish Empire could be the Coda doll. The Tear Doll could have their own empire. No.
I think that the Tear, who is it? Karamorthex, was that his name? I think that he was the Tear Doll. Yeah. He was in the Tear Doll, and he was nobility. But I think that was not because I think that the Thex was his family name, and he could have been Coda doll if he wanted to, because he was, had nobility in him. But I don't think he ever identified with that. I think he really was just this warrior caste, and that was a choice he made. So like the Coda doll is what you're born into. If you
the Kawada doll is kind of the nobility, the
right, that you're born into, and the Tear Doll are what you choose to be, kind of like the warrior. So it's not like you can sort of be in both depending on how you lean.
Okay, so maybe. So we find out that the Tear Doll, when we kind of engage with them first, are not the sort of tormented creatures that we come to know later in EverQuest's typical lore. And through the events of the Fall of Bastion, they kind of get transported to this new realm with like Lannis Taville, and it seems to be like the Plane of Hate or something. We don't really know what it is, but it's dark, it's sinister, and after all the kind of evilness that was spread in Karamor when he charged his troops towards the dragons out of pure hate, even though he knew all his troops would die. All that's really strong in his sentiment, and they're in this new world where I guess they're going to kind of get tormented and twisted. Maybe that's when they turn skin color. Do they have a darker skin color yet? Are they actually just a different? Are they still Fear
it's
Doll
not
at that
mentioned.
Point, or
it's not mentioned.
It's not mentioned.
And
right.
And you would assume that this is before any sort of radical change to their appearance that takes place, because for one, they are, as we just discussed, they are born of normal elves. There's nothing special about them. And when they come back, when we see them in the artwork, they have horns and they're dark skinned. So you would assume that all of that happens after that traumatic event where they go into the other dimension.
Yeah, it has to be, because you don't put coffee into, a coffee maker and just still get tea. You don't work that way.
Right.
You don't put coffee in a coffee maker and get coffee.
Either,
water in with it.
Yeah, that too. Things happen, all right? There's steps. It's probably mostly time. If it was just like anything else. If I went to a different country and my heritage changed, eventually down the line things would start taking place. I'm pretty sure they become a product of their environment.
Well,
yeah, exactly.
So to speak.
Yeah, I guess.
So that's what it seems to be. You have the
evolution,
Doll, the nobility of the Fear Doll, and you have the Tear Doll. The Fear Doll are sort of basically it's a caste system. It's not necessarily what we think of regular EverQuest lore is everyone has their own little race, but they're not races at that point.
Right, and isn't that what they said at SOE Live last year? Isn't that what they said? That they're not sub-races, they're more like castes.
I guess so, yeah. It's hard to remember, to be honest. It's been so long.
And Velix real quick in the chat is saying like, and they're described as having tan skin with blonde hair, and at the end of the Fall of Bastion, they Tyrdal have regular skin up until the Fall of Bastion. So I believe
this is so much more interesting to me than like separate races. Like before, it was like, oh, the Wood Elves and the Dark Elves are fighting for some reason. Okay, two separate races, it's a war.
Like
but this is really interesting because this has a lot of conflict. I don't know.
There's like a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on here.
I love it. That's just definitely one of the things I like about Fantasy Worlds is the different level of political intrigue that you can also incorporate into a fantasy world, and so. I mean, like, I'm not necessarily big on like the creating heroes in the novels, like, you know, the can't, you know, never being defeated in battle type hero. I can't ever lose. I can't ever die because I'm the hero. But I love the political, like, losing battles, which change borders, which change relationships.
That's what I loved about the Ring of Scale coming into power for the first time, because we knew about the Dragon War, we knew that the Ring of Scale was evil, we knew this war was going on, but we didn't know how it came about. And so they started planning all these pieces.
And I love the fact that the evilness is like a frame of mind. Because you can put yourself in the dragon's point of view and be like, no, that was totally justified. There were dragons being experimented on, killed, dissected.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if they did not, if us dragons don't do anything about it, the elves are just going to get more powerful. We have to do something about it now. And you can see where this leads to them thinking that they're the good guys. And again,
I guess Ring of Scale would be, kind of the good guys. You're right.
In their own mind, of course, they think they're the good guys. But again, that's like where you see the different where if you take yourself out of the situation, like the elves are of course calling the dragons the bad guys because they're going to war and they're facing extinction, right? But if you turn it around and look at it from the other, the other shoes put on, you can be like, no, the dragons are totally justified. And I definitely love the way that they're making like the whole nature between good and evil subjective, depending on what you think is more important. And
I like that with the gods too. They kind of took that approach with the gods because they're all kind of, it's more a reference to something. It's not like the gods are like changing things,
And I definitely think that in a fantasy world setting, the more that you can incorporate those types of judgments, like, well, if you look at it this way or that way, depends. I think that that's great. It makes people think about like what's going on in the world, and makes it easier to put it myself when I'm reading a story into the world. Because when it's very dogmatic, these are the evil, I am good, it's very hard for me to get into those type of situations because it's very dogmatic. I'm not a dogmatic person.
That was quick. No, but you're right, it's too simple of a story at that point for me. I don't even know if it goes into the fact that I'm either good or evil, but the fact that it's just so simplified that there's no real backstory. I mean, you saw that with games like Rift, and I guess WoW too. You have the Alliance versus the Horde. I don't know how. I'm sure the Warcraft lore goes pretty deep. I don't really know too much about it, but when it comes to Rift, it wasn't very deep, and that was the one thing why I couldn't really connect with the world. Is because they had some backstory and they had some things like in the starting areas where you'd see the key players doing things, but then that was it. And later they kind of abolished it, anyways.
Yeah, later it was just made no sense because at first it was like, okay, well, there's two sides. There was the side of technology, the side of religion. It was Rift, and it kind of broke down. Then it was not.
No, and I think that Rift, their two-party dynamic just never worked for me. I think in Warcraft it makes a little bit more sense, only in that you take predominant themes like the Alliance. That faction is about cooperation and alliance and working together, and together together we are stronger than the sum of our parts type stuff. And then on the Horde you have, they're not the opposite of that, but they're more, individual accomplishment, determination, veracity, those sorts of primal emotions. So but it works in that setting, more or less.
It does because of like where the two sides came. I don't want to go deep that lore.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid.
Because I know it all. But yeah, I get that too. But I like this lore just because it's one. Give it up for SOE. Real quick, can we give it up for SOE on like?
Let's give it up, everyone. Let's get some claps going in chat right now.
Because I've been through a lot of MMOs, just a lot of them, and sometimes you go to the website and here's some lore, and you read a few paragraphs and that describes what happened and why we're going into this. They're putting out books, and they're doing it in a specific order of from different points of view of different points of the war, or different specifically picked out of and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone wants to say, "Hey, listen, no, we're not doing it that way." But I think they really are picking out certain things. They're telling these authors this is the next what you're gonna not what you're gonna write, but this is the next what we're gonna touch on.
They definitely have it,
right?
And it's very, very specific what they want.
You know how the coders and the developers, they have their design document in the background, and they're always referring back to it.
Well,
I'm sure that they have their lore
wiki. They do. They have lore wikis. Yep.
Right, and they're okay, you can tell we want you to tell a story about this event that happens, and you can, let's talk and come up with a story about that event. You can come up with it. We just want to know about it so that we can tell you, so that you can reference this other document that we have and incorporate a more deep story.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It is absolutely great. And I think that this leads us to the next important question that we talked about in the pre-show, which is, now that we have all these great characters that we were just talking about, this great lore, which ones are you very excited about meeting when the game launches?
I actually want to make one quick point before we go into that, if that's okay, just super quick. I want to mention Steve Denuser is the lead lore guy on the project, and he was working previously. He started with SOE, but then he moved on to 38 Studios project, Reckoning. So he worked with people like Salvatore and all those writers. They were creating immense lore from what I heard for that game. So he always was interested in lore. He got experience with them, and now you can kind of see where it's all kind of coming to play. What he might have learned on the past projects. All this kind of backstory and intrigue, right. and things crossing over, and plus think all these novels are in with this one era, but remember there's still two eras behind it. That of full of information that we don't really know about.
Yeah, and we remember from SOE that they didn't.
I don't think this is. I don't think that this is SOE alone in doing it, because even when the Kingdom of Amalur was being developed, and they had their standalone PC game coming out, and then they were working on their MMO. They hired R.A. Salvatore to work on their lore, because I think that MMO developers realize that if we're going to have a depth of gameplay experience, we need to have a depth of lore, and we need to have all of that, in writing so that people can go back to it. That was it. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was going to say, it makes just perfect sense. Any game, even if you don't read. I mean, and maybe even coming from Kyle's point of view, if you don't read, but if you go into a game, though, I love story. It connects you with your character, connects you with that world, and it makes you want to go smash the ogre in the face or the orc in the face with your mace. You're just I need to go, and it rhymed a little bit. I'm just.
if you're an ogre and you see that high elf walking around, you can just kind of get into character, Yeah.
Yeah. It makes you feel and I love it when there's that gray line. There's that Witcher, the Witcher series does as well. Where there's that gray. What is your choice, good or is it bad? Because and that affects your story so well. I would love to see that. I would love. I mean, I don't want to go super off track with that, but I just want to say I like that the way the dragons are we were being dissected, and there's that gray area of what is really good and what is really bad.
You're right, and remember the life of consequence that the game's keeping track of what we do, so who knows how this is going to translate to game mechanics. So we're seeing it in lore already, but who knows what it's going to be like when we actually start taking part of this, and we are in that gray area.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait. Let's go back to your question.
Well, I was thinking we've got about 5 minutes before our break, and so I was thinking that after we come back from the break, we can go and nail down that question, because I think it's a great question to ask, because we've been introduced to some pretty interesting characters. I'd like to see more of them in the next game, in next when it comes out. So what do you guys think? Should we save it for the after the break, or should we go into it now?
No, real quick. I'm going to say Corlin Larkos is going to be such a badass. And honestly, I hope I can learn to become a necromancer from him. So not only do I want to see him fighting and attacking players and running away or something, but I want him to be the main guy who I become a necro from. So you have to remember, Corlin Larkos is the Archmage. He actually has this big heroic stand. He's always been self-centered, but in the Fall of Bastion, he does this big thing where he sacrifices himself, basically, to hold up the illusion. He stays longer than he should. He had this plan to escape on the boat, and he decides not to. But then Ithiosar basically attacks him, corrupts him, and creates this undead necro warrior. Takes the Archmage's powers and just turns them completely corrupt. And I thought that was amazing, because not only did they create the class there, that's how the necros began, but oh man, it just...
Yeah, but if you're one of the lesser races, if you're one of the lesser races, do you think he's really going to teach you magic?
Well, maybe when you get to be a high level necromancer.
It's interesting that
you work up the storyline, maybe.
It's interesting that they say that you're an archmage, but you get corrupted. And it'd be interesting because we know that there's so many classes in the game, so it'd be interesting to see that maybe that if you go so far in the archmage class, there's a way to get corrupted into a necromancer class.
Right. Well,
how cool would that be?
The archmage, actually, all the spells that they used were from an enchanter / illusionist / coercer build. So illusionist, coercer, and EverQuest 2 were enchanter and EverQuest 1, but those are the spells that they were using when they shout out the spell name. You're right. What if that is interesting? What if you pick up that one class and you start using it, and then the other classes just kind of spring out of it based on your choices?
Right. Where choices, basically you have what do they call it? Where you have you can prestige classes is the closest thing I can come. Where you first off you have to take this class, and then this class you can go left, right, or center, and you can continue to build down the path.
Oh, Felgen is just looking for more in Corlin Raid. Look at
yeah, right. Well, that's what we're going to come back and talk about. Is is he going to be a trainer? Is he going to be the necromancer trainer, or is he going to be the first boss? The first if
it's
boss?
Really emergent, maybe that you can learn from Corlin for a while until players kill him, and then all of a sudden you have to learn from his disciples, and maybe the class changes from there. Maybe there's a certain skill you only got from Corlin, and then it's gone. It's possible if they're talking about a world that changes, right?
You kill Baron Rivendare in World of Warcraft and vanilla, but then later you freaking get to train with him when you become a Death Knight. So
really?
Screw that, yeah.
You do.
I guess it's possible then to bring characters.
It's all possible.
And get his mounts, which I grinded out for freaking ever because it was a beautiful mount, and I got the mount. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, he's totally dead. Nope, he's the Death Knight. Yay!
Well, then true. When it's a fantasy story, you can always bring it back. That's true. At least it won't be stagnant to where you can still be killing him at the same time you're training from him. Because that's the one thing with theme park MMOs, right? Because you can still go kill him right now in WoW, can't you? Or is that before they did their whole expansion where they
He is no longer in that raid or that dungeon. He's not there anymore.
They
replaced him.
Which is the Death Knight that shows up in Nax that you can still kill, though? Wasn't he one of the trainers?
Baron Rivendare is one of the Death Knights in Nax that you can kill.
So he went from being an NPC in a low-level instance to it being a raid boss, and now he's a trainer.
He used to be the end boss in a vanilla dungeon, and then he became somebody that you could kill or somebody that you could train with. Well, he's not really a trainer. He's just kind of an NPC running around.
Kind of NPC, trying to teach you the ways.
Yeah, he teaches you, and then he becomes one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. No, seriously,
he does. I know. It's awesome.
It's called the 4 Horsemen.
I know. I love it.
4 horsemen. One of them is a girl.
So we ran Nax constantly.
Hell yeah!
Constantly. Especially when we go deep. Let's go break.
Yeah, let's go to break. What are we playing during the break videos?
Just so that I can let people get the proper credit there is a YouTube creator that is simply Lore, Lore. It's just as simple as that. And they do all of these lore in a minute cartoons, and so they have 2 that are EverQuest Next specific. I'm gonna play both of them. The one is EverQuest Next franchise lore, and then the other one is EverQuest Next lore specifically. So we're going to play those. They're about, A minute each.
A minute?
So, they're actually like a minute and a half. So I'm going to give us like, let's say we're going to be back in like 3 to 5 minutes.
5. Yeah.
5. Okay. So if we are coming back, if we go a little bit long during our break, I hope you guys all enjoyed the first hour of the show. Who wants to camp us out?
Camping in 5. Or not me?
No, go ahead. You were so excited.
Not me?
No, you go.
Camp in Klingon. Can you camp in Klingon?
No.
I mean, just the numbers. You don't know the numbers?
You don't know the
I promise the next episode I will count down in Klingon. If we can find it, I will. Okay, so here.
Do it in German.
Addendum.
How about this?
Ask Tanlin.
Tanlin, can you camp us out in German?
Yeah. I don't know the word. I don't know the word. I don't know the word.
Just say camping and then go.
Just say the numbers.
Well, hold on. I can count up to 5. Counting down from 5. Camping in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.